better come up with some better responses. Let's do this. Bismillah.
I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mad Mamluks. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Sheikh Amr.
Assalamu alaikum.
And the one and only
Assalamu alaikum.
Mort. Welcome to the show, everyone. Please, while you're here, give the old like button a smash and throw a comment in the comment section below with your thoughts related to the show. When you guys, we always love hearing your comments in the chat, but when you don't put it in the comment section, it doesn't help us out at all. So please.
Please give us
Min
comments.
fadlik, as Sheikh's people say.
Give me comments.
Min fadlik.
Min fadlik, yeah.
There you go.
Fadlik.
My man.
There's your Arabic word for the day.
Min fadlik.
Afwan.
So, what's happening, guys?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, bro.
How you feeling?
Sheikh, I love your outfit.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. It was a gift. MashaAllah.
Usually you have your couple buttons open up there, up on top, with your chest hair on display.
Yeah, it's unintentional, but sometimes it just...
I actually had no idea that Amr was so hairy at one point.
Oh, dude.
Like, the first time I saw him, like, his shirt was unbuttoned, I'm like, oh, my God.
MashaAllah.
Like, it takes you back because he doesn't look like hairy, right?
Wait, what does
But,
that mean, takes you back?
It takes you aback. Like, I mean, like, you take it back,
It
right?
takes you back. Like some
yeah,
uncle that you saw on the beach one time.
No.
Covered.
I mean, like, because your hands, they don't look like it. Like, usually people who have the kind of hair that he has on his chest are, like, have, like, hair in their knuckles.
Talking about this?
Like, they're, like, hairy knuckles, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have that. Like, it's just pretty much here. But his chest is like a weave, like a weave.
It's like you want to take those those shears that they have for
the hair, for thinning the hair.
For those lambs, it's like a special type of.
You ever seen that?
To get the coat, you ever seen coat out? Yeah,
you can make like a custom.
It's very thick.
We can get we can get a TMM like shirt made out of your hair, like for the top donor.
Tabarruk.
Like,
did you get
Sheikh Hammer, the spirit of Sheikh Hammer is traveling with you.
You watch those sheep shears, those competitions they have for the whole
Yes.
I think what we could do is make a burda from his chest hairs. And you can cover yourself with a cloak. You know?
Wow, you guys are crazy, bro. Yeah. Can we talk about something else now? This is a...
So
I really think
you always... Wait, hold on. Were you always that hairy even in childhood? Or like, it's just when you got
childhood? No, after like... No, I mean like 14, 15.
I mean when you started becoming baligh.
Yeah.
It was always that hairy?
Not always, obviously.
Or like in your old age, it got more like...
I mean like, it was like 50% of this up until the age of 30. And then like 30 up until now, another 50%, you know?
Pretty big jump.
Yeah.
Is it permissible to shave your man hair?
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of an issue.
Usually the Malikis have strong opinions about this item.
No, it is permissible to remove it?
Yeah, I don't think there's any issue with that.
I thought like you shouldn't unless it's like, I don't know. I mean,
obviously for medical reasons you should, but I don't think there's anything about you getting rid of your body hair. Unless if itself causes you lots of, people get like burns and all that.
So what you're saying is you shouldn't do it?
I think I'm gonna take a middle approach on this
because like you could be doing your fitra and then just kind of come down and do your chest, right?
Like, I like how you call it fitra.
One armpit to the other like this.
Yeah, no. So I don't think there's any negation, any prohibition of you shaving your body hair. As
the reason why I'm asking is because I'm sure you probably get very hot in the summertime. Like,
no, it's
that's
actually
like
good.
An extra 2 inches on your shirt, like. That's pretty massive.
Yeah, it does make you a little warmer, but you sweat faster.
Do you get warmer in the summertime with that hair?
What the hell's going on? We have so many things to talk about, bro.
We're not that hairy. Like, we're just not.
We literally discussed the current events. We didn't mention the current event of my chest hair, bro.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, like, usually the hair, my extent of hair is in my face. Like, I'm not that hairy otherwise.
Sim, can you stop this, man?
So I'm very curious. Like, no, I'm sure it's a problem some brothers out there are suffering from.
It's not a problem. It's just nice. It's just okay. In the winter, it's awesome.
Really? Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
Well, we can always talk about your quba.
Quba, yeah.
But that's such a mouthful. Why can't they pick a cuter name for a hat? Quba.
For us, it's
like
for them, it's normal. It's just normal.
You can call it
This is
tughya.
normal.
Like
It's just normal.
You can call
so
it.
like guttural.
Yeah, but there's a lot of words for it though. You can call it tughya. Tughya.
Yeah, taqiyya, you can call
Yeah.
it quba.
I mean, a lot of different words. I think there's many. I don't think people walk around saying quba like this like the hat because it's too much. Like
a
you
lot
say
of
it's a
people say
mouthful.
taqiyya. In the Middle East, say taqiyya.
Yeah.
You know.
But
Tarbush.
that's a bigger version.
It's like a little
watermelon.
fez hat.
No.
Watermelon?
Watermelon. That's
No, batik is watermelon.
No, he's saying tarbuz. It sounds like
In Urdu, tarbush. Yeah. No. I'm thinking it like no. Tarbush is like the little fez hat,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, brothers and sisters, some serious discussion.
Banter out of the way.
Regretfully,
Yeah.
banter done. Ismail Haniyeh has been assassinated by the illegal apartheid genocidal state of Israel. First and foremost, we as Muslims, we always, when we think about anyone who we lost as a martyr, we don't think of them as, we don't feel bad for them. It's something amazing and a huge honor for them. We mourn that we lost them, that they're no longer part of our lives and part of humanity, and that we can't benefit from them anymore. So when we think about the martyrs, we don't mourn, oh, poor Ismail,
So-and-so, yeah.
or so-and-so, or any other person who's been killed. Their test is over. We as Muslims know that they're already in Jannah, and our sadness is for how they can no longer help us anymore with the work they've been doing. And that's how what I've been kind of thinking about today. And I was just kind of figuring out like, hey, what are some lessons we can learn from this? Where are we headed in terms of losing the most important figures that, at least in our mind, we see some of the most important people who are fighting against the apartheid state. We're losing them in front of our eyes, and
Allah has another plan, though, man.
And what we have to step up is I guess the only way I can think about it. It's like it's not the individual, it's not the personality, it's the ideas, and we have to figure out how we're going to fill in those shoes as best as we can, even though those shoes are as big as huge as they've left it, as those martyrs have left us. We have to figure out a way to fill those shoes, and it's an incredible responsibility. It's not like anyone can say like, oh, I'm going to take on that mantle. It's like you do everything you can, right? A man like that who sacrificed every family member before he himself was killed. He said he gave up everything. Yeah. He
his children. His sister died too recently.
He will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, I gave up everything for you.
Yeah.
And that's something that few of us can ever say.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I was thinking about too, because I was thinking about it, and I remember that clip when obviously he was living in Doha, but his family was still in Gaza, and news had come to him that his son had died, and he just brushed it off. Not in a negative way, but like he accepted it, like he had sabr and continued doing what he was doing, like he had to do.
They tried to shame him for that. They tried to say, "Oh, look how heartless he is."
Yeah. But for me, I saw that as someone who has absolute resolve and trust in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, that this is qadr Allah, that it's gonna happen, and this is what I signed up for, and like what he is fighting for, and people like him are fighting for, it doesn't come cheap. They recognize that it's not cheap. Like I think we've talked about this before. We say that we're comfortable revolutionaries. Meaning, as long as it's comfortable for us, we can talk about it and do things about it. But the minute there's a little discomfort behind it, right? People tend to, and this is including us, we tend to back away or slow it down, or to, just
think things through.
Yeah, think things through. Not even so much that, but more so that, hey, maybe we need to scale it down. Right.
Yeah. The figure of speech of think things through generally. Yeah. What I mean by that is, hey, we should slow down and just stop doing this a little bit.
And so when you compare the tawakkul of someone like that to people like us, we have to really question ourselves and say, do we really understand tawakkul ala Allah? Do we understand that, right? Because people like this, they do, right? They lose their family members, their women, their children, their grandchildren. They've lost their homes. They've put everything on the line.
Yeah.
Right?
And they put people in a very, very uncomfortable situation. There's a lot of Muslims because he was the labeled leader of Hamas. People don't want to show any sympathy. They don't want to show any empathy for the family, for the movement, quote unquote, because of this fear of being associated with Hamas or Hamas sympathizers, right?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, for me, that's another thing that I was thinking about was that that regardless of what your opinion of Ismail Haniyeh is, right? At the end of the day, he's someone that said La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and we always are people that we're told that show forgiveness or show mercy if you want the mercy of Allah. So let's say he did something wrong or didn't do everything correct or perfect, right? But at the end of the day, he was a Muslim, and he was. We have good assumptions that he was trying his best.
Yeah.
And we all have shortcomings. So when you see a death like this, it shouldn't be something that an opportunity for you to badmouth or to criticize. Rather, it should be an opportunity for us to come together, to rally around and say, okay, these are people that are falling. As Sim mentioned, that these are people in our lifetime that are giants, and history will record them as such. Yeah. Right? And they're falling down. So what lessons can you learn, and how can we use that to benefit our ummah, right? Yeah. It's easy to talk because, and here's what I would like to say, and I know this about myself. When people like that are in power, with power comes responsibility and comes scrutiny. And everybody has mistakes. I know that if someone looked into my life and my deep, dark secrets and whatever they may be, Allah knows, they'd probably be worse than his, right? And that's probably true for many people out there. When you die, would you want people to look at only focus on the shortcomings? Or focus on you as an individual, as a person, and the good that you also did, right? Yeah. Like, this is kind of exactly why some of the women would be in the hellfire, right? Because of what? When their husbands do one mistake or a few mistakes, they tend to focus on the mistake rather than say, he's never done anything good for us at all. And if you take an example, I'm not trying to talk about women here. I'm saying we do that with people like this too. Men do this to men who are in power, who are trying. I'm not saying absolve them. I'm not saying that they don't hold them accountable. But what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, understand that they're human beings too. Yeah. They're not perfect.
On a side note, like, I know they're still trying to recover from this, but what do they do? Do you know what plans they have as a replacement or a vice representative?
They have contingency in place. They're like an organization. I'm sure they do.
But did you guys hear anything about that or no?
I haven't heard anything specifically, but I know they have a number 2 in command. It's probably in Doha, but
they're not it wouldn't be smart to announce that right away. Yeah. Who's going to be taking over and give unnecessary operational insight to how the organization's structured. So,
I mean, if I were them, I would never announce it. I would just keep it hidden, especially in time of war. The less because knowledge is more information an enemy has, the more ways they can get to you.
True. Yeah. And then there's lots of theories of who actually pulled the trigger on this.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about some?
Yeah. So, some people were just outright. They thought that, Iranians kind of set this up, and it was too easy. And they could. I mean, it'd be easy for them to protect him, but they gave up the coordinates of this of where he's located and where he was staying, and
that's a theory that's being floated around a lot, that Iran gave up Ismail Haniyeh to the Israelis, but I didn't hear the reason for why. Yeah. What is actually in play here that they would want to do that? Because if you think about the consequences of that, right? Because as Iran, if you think about it, let's really fine-tooth comb look at this. If that was true, that would mean Iran can't host dignitaries and their security from anyone. That's a huge embarrassment.
It is.
That you cannot protect people visiting your country from Israel. That's a black eye. Incredibly embarrassing for any country, whether it's Israel or anyone, to attack someone visiting your country as a guest and them being killed by Israel. That's utterly embarrassing. It just doesn't make sense. On that alone, that one objective fact that you can't guarantee your dignitary's security. That's a huge. And then the second one is, well, what are they going to get out of it? Is it peace? Like, the Iranians and Israel are now going to, back off each other and make a peace agreement?
No, they have to posture. They have to show something now.
That doesn't make sense at all.
There has to be retaliation now.
What you understand from war in general, in war you have to have someone you're talking to. That's why when countries go to war against each other, the United States in Vietnam, for example, they didn't go after the Ho Chi Minh, the Viet Cong leaders, right? You have to have someone you're going to have discussions with, right? So that comes to the next point. Why would Israel do this then? If you are in war with another country, United States and Russia go to war. The United States bombs Putin and takes him out. And there's an active war happening. And now, like, both sides are feeling casualties. And now, well, how do you stop that? Because their leader is gone. They're not going to announce who their replacement leader is. So what that gives you insight into the Israeli thinking, into that, hey, they don't want peace, right? Because the natural, if you don't have someone to have discussions with and bargain with, then what is the natural conclusion? Like, oh, these people don't want peace; they want war, and ongoing war, because Netanyahu and the conservatives are struggling for their life in Israel. They need this to keep continuing.
So I have an alternate theory. I mean, a possibility. Not that I actually believe it, just a possibility. So we know that Hamas was in Doha, right?
Leadership.
Excuse me. And as much as Qatar is the oddball in the region when it comes in terms to the Gulf, but they're still very close to the Americans.
Yeah.
What I was thinking was, America has been pressuring Israel to ceasefire, right? And what has Israel been saying in response to that? We're not going to see, even if you ceasefire, we have to finish off Hamas.
Yep.
So could it be that maybe America pressured Doha to release information on where Ismail is traveling to, and then Israel passed on to Israel, allows that to happen? Say, okay, we killed Ismail Haniyeh, we've crushed the head of Hamas, so now we can do a ceasefire. Even though they would still, I'm not saying that Israel is going to end their attacks. They do this all the time, habitually, but now it's an excuse to say, okay, our job is done. We got the head honcho of Hamas. Now we can do a ceasefire.
It's possible, like, if you see in the next couple of weeks,
that
Israel declares a ceasefire, unilateral end to hostilities.
Because this war is costing Israel a lot, not to mention they're ramping up now with Lebanon. To fight a war on two fronts, on your southern and northern fronts, are hard, right? And especially when you have to dedicate more effort to the north.
Yeah.
That means you would essentially have to pull a lot away from the south and then risk a potential all-out loss of that area that you conquered, right? And then that would make it look like that they haven't actually eradicated Hamas, and that they actually lost everything again. And that ultimately that would happen because they would have to mobilize to the north, because Lebanon is Hezbollah is a far stronger opponent than Hamas is. They're better funded. They haven't been at war for so long. They haven't been under a blockade, etc., etc., etc. So this may be a precursor to saying, okay, we got Hamas, we wiped them out, we got the head honcho, we can go there now. Let's turn our efforts towards.
But more the dilemma with no, I agree with you. I personally think Israel did it, but what do they think is going to happen? Is this something that we should think about loudly? It's not like he was anywhere else. He was in Iran, right? And he got killed in Iran with one of the Hezbollah's leaders, Shukr, I forgot his name. So there's two people that got killed. Mm-hmm. This is actually to incite war more. That's what it seems like more
so
than ever.
So they're already at war with Hezbollah.
Yeah. But
right?
This is to spread the war, I think, even farther.
So here's the thing. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Israel wants to spread the war to Lebanon.
Yeah.
But they're already at war. Make no mistake. They've been at war, right? And they, I think, with regards to attacking Iran instead of Iran, this is not unprecedented. They do it all the time. They've done.
That's true.
This is not something new for them to do, right? They've gone inside Syria, they've gone inside Lebanon, they've gone inside Iran. They've executed even scientists. They've done a lot of different things. They've conducted operations numerous times inside of Iran. What they may be doing is saying, listen, we need to wrap up the Hamas thing and have the optics of a victory in order to now ramp up efforts against the North. And the North is Hezbollah, who's what? That's Iran's proxy. They know Iran, not that they can't, but Iran's not dumb enough to do an all-out war against Israel. It doesn't make sense for them to do that. They're not in a position to do that.
And obviously Israel knows
so they have to go through proxies, which is Hezbollah. So I think they could be gearing up to move all the efforts to that northern front, to Golan in that area. And that attacking Hezbollah is like attacking Iran for them. There's no difference. That's Iran on their border. So it could be. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying this is how I've worked it out. Yeah.
The implications of a long war with Hezbollah is not does not play out well for Israel either. It seems like, Israel can take out Hezbollah. They're so powerful. They must have all this military equipment from the West, and everyone's supporting them, giving them money. But I promise you, like every analyst says, that there is very little chance for Israel to have
success,
even a victory. Forget about a prolonged conflict. Them even coming out victorious is up for question just against Hezbollah.
Yeah, actually, so what they're saying is that the Hezbollah of today is not the Hezbollah of 2003.
Yeah.
They're saying that they've gotten much better technology. They have
tunnel
better
networks,
drone technology,
tunnel networks,
and intelligence. Hezbollah trolled them recently by sending them pictures of their naval ports, of their strategic weapons depots, communications areas. They have a lot of information but Israel's strong point is still the fact that they have an air force, right? But in order for for Hezbollah to counter that, they have ramped up their surface-to-air missiles, they have like serious payloads on their missiles they can launch, right? They're not like Hamas mortar shells, right? They're different, right? They have those, but those are actually what they've been doing recently is they've been using those mortars to overload the Iron Dome, and in Israeli fashion, what they're doing is they're heavy-handed, and they start firing everywhere in that direction where the mortar came from. And then they give away their position, and then Hezbollah will use the more advanced missiles that have a shorter deployment time to target where Israelis are.
Each time the Iron Dome is utilized or they launch it costs them like $100,000 per missile.
I think each missile is it's from the battery. They call them batteries that shoot off projectiles. Those rockets or missiles, whatever you want to call them. It's about $200,000 for each one of those. They spend millions of dollars for an Iron Dome, like I would say daily. I mean, I should say daily, but whenever the rocket attacks happen, they spend millions, tens of millions of dollars. There were actually a shortage of missiles. That's why they were asking the Americans to, provide it for us because we don't have missiles. But yeah, so to Sim's point, and even to be honest, I wouldn't say Hezbollah won in 2003, I wouldn't even call it a stalemate. I think Israel did have an advantage. That was because of the Air Force. But even then, Israel took on a lot of damage. And their tanks were severely, they were just not impressive, put it that way. They were. It came to a point where I remember reading that IDF soldiers were camped out in their tanks like sitting ducks because they couldn't have enough support, and so like they were literally pooping and peeing in bags, and because they didn't want to come out of their tanks, right? So that's 2003.
Yeah.
And
now that they've expanded it by implementing they've expanded their command control structure. They have incredible levels of communication that was not available before. Now they have tunnel networks. They have anti-tank weapons. They have anti-air weapons. Even small capabilities of a naval force. They have small boats and stuff that can assist them in small operations in the sea as well. So
I'm getting some breaking news. Iran lost an attack on Israel.
Oh wow!
I'm gonna look it up while you talk. I'm gonna look it up. I'm getting a link.
They have all kinds of asymmetric capabilities that can inflict a lot of pain for Israelis, and I think this is one of the reasons why the United States is telling them to back off. Like, hey, you don't want to get involved with Hezbollah, because they're trying to divert this whole conflict of Gaza towards that, as we just discussed, but it's not going to play out well for Netanyahu, because he's going to get his country into a prolonged conflict, and that can compromise the integrity of the security of the Israeli state. The Israelis are already spooked, and they're already leaving northern Israel. They're abandoning it, and
some airlines are actually not allowed to fly. I think it was Delta, United, and a few others are not allowed to fly into Israel anymore, as of today. Yeah, and I think the amount of people that left Israel, not just from October 7th, not from that first month or from that first week, but even now, there's a huge number of people that left, and they keep leaving. And the other thing is that Israel's in shambles too, man. Like that whole, prison rape thing that happened, and Muslims always knew there was torture in dungeons, and we knew that very, very well without a shadow of a doubt. But now there's a whole bunch of backlash because it came out into the public.
Well, it came out because the United Kingdom said that we won't send you weapons if you're not going to prosecute rape.
Yeah,
because it's so evident. There's so much evidence against Israel, and that they're pretty much greenlighting rape as a torture weapon. That the United Kingdom said we're going to hold back our weapons shipments if you don't begin prosecuting these individuals, and so they began an effort to start reining in some of these people. And as soon as that happened,
some sacrificial lambs.
Yeah, some sacrificial lambs. As soon as that happened, people flipped all across Israel.
Shows how evil these people are, bro.
They don't consider non-Jews to be rape victims according to Jewish law. That's what they're saying on Twitter.
Yeah, and that's the arguments are. They're like, no, why are we
Israeli Jewish people are saying on Twitter that they're not actually considered. That's not considered rape, according to their law.
Yeah, it's not that they're not rape victims. It's just sanctioned rape.
Yeah,
there's no. It's not a crime.
Yeah,
for your Gentile enemies.
Yeah, and that's why we see on Twitter these guys are arguing. It's showing their conversation. Some of them are juristic in nature, but they're saying that it doesn't matter. We should empower whatever we need to, even if it's rape, to strike fear in the hearts of these Palestinians.
I just find it funny that a country could potentially descend into civil war over is it allowed to rape.
Yeah, that's actually what's happening. People. It's not civil war, but it's lots of protests.
It could be.
It could be.
I mean, meaning what I'm saying is that if the right wing says, hey, you government, we don't want to live by this, and we're going to start breaking into prisons and attacking IDF soldiers that are arresting other IDF soldiers for rape, that could definitely descend into civil war.
Yeah. There's some new news that came out like I think 2 hours ago regarding that. I didn't get a chance to see it, but yeah, it's spreading pretty fast now.
One second here. All right. Here's an Israeli who is saying, "No, I'm not literally advocating for anything. Just pointing out that you're hyperbole. In the Jewish state, by Jewish law, only a Jewish woman can be raped. Assault of a non-Jew is a lesser crime. Do you believe a Jewish state has a right to exist, or you want us in the sea?" So he's telling us that this is what they believe, that according to Judaism, rape is only for Jewish women.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
Very fascinating.
You're like
hideous.
There's stuff like where everyone's finding out. You think you're informed about this stuff? Like everyone's learning this stuff. Like, whoa, you guys believe this? Like this
is how they truly feel. See, they're very good at acting like they're Western and everything in the foreign world, but when they're among their own,
yeah.
You see, they've had to be masters of disguise. Rightfully so. They were targeted all throughout Europe. They had to live underground. So they've mastered this art of blending in, but actually knowing what they are.
Yeah.
Like having a very different... They would say, oh, when the Messiah comes, when we have our homeland, we do such and such. They have... I guess you could say they developed their fiqh al-aqaliyya very early on. But everything changes when they have their own government. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing the reality of what it means to have a people like that in power in that region.
Yeah.
When you give them power, this is their form of justice.
And
this is their equality.
So well.
This is their democracy. This is their freedom, their fairness. Insert any word you want to.
Yeah.
So the reason why this is important is because many Westerners think that Israel is the sister country of America and the West in the region. And I'm saying even Hamas doesn't say that rape is okay. Right? Let's say they did, like they accuse them of doing that, right? But their leadership comes out very openly and says rape is not allowed. Yeah. We're Muslims, we can't rape.
Yeah.
They're debating whether you can rape or not.
They're fighting each other.
Yeah.
Because the side wants to turn the rapist and the others do.
To the listeners, imagine that. If you take anything from this conversation, they are debating about whether it's okay to rape. Not about whether someone should be prosecuted or not. Forget about that. That whether it's even disclosed or labeled rape.
And dude, look at the humiliation that Allah's putting them through. They're now known on the world scale in this whole political arena that they're fighting over on the brink of civil war from a side that says rape should be allowed in these dungeons and another side said it shouldn't. That's where we are right now, bro.
Here's a clip of them bragging about how they blew up Gaza's last remaining water reservoir.
Oh, yeah, that.
So here's them setting up explosives across the... This is, by the way, the same reservoir that the activist Rachel Corrie died to protect when she was run over by an Israeli bulldozer. And they're celebrating this. This is the Depraved Society where everyone in the world is seeing. You're seeing McDonald's CEO just recently came out on was it Business Insider? No, Fortune magazine, and he said that the McDonald's boycott is primarily due to the Muslim boycott all across the world. That the McDonald's missed their profit earnings for the quarter because of that.
Not only that, I read something recently too that Starbucks sales, not only in the Middle East but even America, they've missed their targets. They've just grossed less revenue.
Yeah.
Less gross revenue. which is telling, right? But this is not just Muslims. These are regular good people who refuse to support it. So yes, Muslims have talked about it, but keep in mind there are many people who are just human.
Yeah.
People, Jews who are human, Christians that are human, appealing to humanity, right? Like, it doesn't matter what they are, whoever they may be. There are people who just can't tolerate watching babies die and sanction rape of people.
What a weird world, man. I never thought that we'd be discussing this.
And you know what's really funny is, like, I love how on Twitter everyone's just adding Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Because he's become such a Zionist shill. Like, he put out a phone and everything, iPhone or X phone, right? And I'm like, he's like, well, we never share your information, right? And I'm like, yeah, except with the Israelis and the IDF, right? And I just put that like in the caption because I'm like, who are you fooling? Like, you know, if Netanyahu came to him tomorrow and said, "God, Elon, we need to get into one of your phones because it's a threat to Israeli national interest. Please, Elon, let me take you to another kibbutz where people died and walk around and show you things and open." And then Elon would open up his whole and give him the entire software. He's a shill, right? And so the bottom line, I love how people are being called out for what they are. And I have to say this. Candace Owens is taking the forefront of that now. Like, she's really talking about what they did, about what happened to Christians under them, how they did. I mean, she's really going deep down it. Now, I mean, I may not agree with everything, but to take a stance like that, to risk that, that says something, right? And she's a motivating figure among right-wing people. She is a Christian. She is a woman. She's been a staunch conservative.
A woman of color too.
She's not like a. Let me put it to you. She's not a. What do you call what would be a good word to label like a Hinckley, like not off the path, right? Not out there wacko, right? Like not Alex Jones type stuff, right? She had been known to be a level-headed conservative who represents the right of America. Turning Point USA, all these things, right? So she has sway among voters, among opinions, and a person like this is now just jumping down the rabbit hole. This is not going to end well for Zionists.
Here we go. I want to share this one clip.
Oh, perfect. You queued it up. Awesome.
Every time Bibi Netanyahu shows up in America and suggests that we need to go to war with a country, we instantly go to war with the country. Take a look at this compilation.
If you take away the Soviet Union and its chief proxy, the PLO, international terrorism would collapse. If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. Obviously, we like to see a regime change, at least I would, in Iran, just as I would like to see in Iraq. The question now is a practical question. What is the best place to proceed? It's not a question of whether Iraq's regime should be taken out, but when should it be taken out? It's not a question of whether you'd like to see a regime change in Iran, but how do it...
Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon at this point?
The answer is categorically yes. The two nations that are vying, competing with each other, who will be the first to achieve nuclear weapons, is Iraq and Iran. But a third nation, by the way, is Libya as well. Libya is trying very rapidly to build an atomic bomb capability. So you have here now three nations. All stand together to stop Iran's march of conquest, subjugation, and terror.
Iraq, Libya, Syria. He says it, we do it. And now he's saying that Iran might kill President Trump. And if he does, then we just better all say we're going to war right now and not ask any further questions. Let me tell you something right now. Something happens to President Trump, I'm going to have a lot of further questions. And I'm going to make this statement to the American people. Please listen to me. Do not send your sons and daughters to fight in this planned war. They have been planning this war for years, okay? Do not believe them when they say they have weapons of mass destruction. They have been trying this strategy for years in various countries that they want war with, okay? Stop letting these elite oligarchs, very small group of them that benefit from these never-ending wars, allow you to be deluded into emotionality and irrationality and to allow your children to die on foreign soil. Not a single American daughter or son is going to die overseas for this planned war. Make that commitment. Genuinely make that commitment to yourselves.
There we go. So
And you can tell she's dead serious. Like, you can tell she's actually annoyed and appalled that he would appeal to Americans to go fight these wars and how we've been misled. Because I think for her it's also deeply personal, Sim. Because she was among that right wing that fell for this, that put this forward, Israel first and our ally, and because they're told this, right? They're meant to believe that this is the democracy that we need in the region. This is a stabilizing force. This is our partner. We've invested in Israel because they're going to help spread our ideas, and they're allies of the Christians in that region, right? Like, just from the right wing. And I think it's deeply personal for her. You can tell by the way she's speaking. She's passionate. She's serious. She's almost angered by it. You know what I mean?
Oh, she's definitely angered by it. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
There's so much more.
In case you're not familiar at all with who the Khazars are, outside of whether or not you can draw a line from the Khazar Empire, the Kazarian Empire, my understanding, and I have not done enough research into it, essentially it was an empire. And can you fact check it again? This would be in Ukraine. And what would be modern Ukraine? And let me know in my ear when you dig that up, Mark.
We're checking.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure that it was in what would have been deemed modern Ukraine. It all goes back to Ukraine. But essentially, they were worshiping and doing things that were considered so immoral and so corrupt. And I'm talking about sexual stuff. And I'm also talking about in the way that they cheated people, that they were given an option from modern, I would say Iran, but Persia and Russia. Like, either you convert to one of the faiths like that we think will make you more moral, or we will crush you. And so there was this mass conversion in the 8th century. And you can fact check me on that too. I think it was the 8th century, where the Khazarians mass converted to Judaism as the faith. And to be clear, it was the people that were running this empire at the top who were just up to no good, and they carried on their corruption. They carried on their sexual deviancy despite pretending to have converted to Judaism. That doesn't mean the people that they ruled over didn't meaningfully convert. I'm sure they did, but the people at the top didn't. And so Russia and I'm saying Iran because my brain's not doing. Russia and Persia teamed up and crushed the Kazarian Empire. And so there has been a theory for a while that what is happening is that the Kazarians are reassembling, and that essentially they want to crush Russia and Iran, which is kind of happening right now, actually, which is interesting to think about. I hadn't even thought about that until right now, that they at least do seem to really want war with Russia and Iran. But I'm just giving you guys that information so that you can know why that person commented on that. I can only tell you books that I've read from Israeli historians, but they say the science has been updated, so who knows? Now it's what was once established Israeli science is now anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. So I can't tell you what's right and what's wrong anymore in today's world.
Is it possible that the Khazars are Yajuj and Majuj? As Iman Hussein, I think he was the first one who came up with that.
Really?
I think
No,
theory.
they were the Turks.
The Turks came up.
Yeah, remember
with
they
that?
went up to like Crimea and they went to the areas, right, like Georgia. So they probably, these are probably the.
Well, the Turks were investigating. They never came up with like a theory. They never said, "Oh, we found Yajuj and Majuj." They said
no. What I'm saying is, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. They didn't make the accusation, but they had a hunch that the Yajuj and Majuj were from that area up in like Georgia, like from that area, like where Khazars and Tartars were and Crimeans were. Like, they had a feeling they were over there. So you can maybe credit them for saying, "Hey, look over there." You know what I mean? Like,
if it's there, you never know.
I don't know. Iman Hussein's kind of one of those people that some things you're like, oh, I like how he thinks, but then he says like stuff like Putin's the greatest leader in the world or something like that. I've seen like strange clips, and I'm like,
can I be honest about him though? With all no jokes aside, totally respectful. I don't agree with a lot of what he says, and it's speculation, but that's fine because it's these are a hadith that you can speculate about. But I appreciate one thing, which is that his ability to try to think outside the box. Yeah. To try to make sense of certain things. And if that's the goal, then I can appreciate the ability to try to do that, right? And I don't have to agree with it. It's all speculation. It's not binding upon me. I think some things are totally off the mark crazy. But again, it's good to have people that can think outside the box.
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of shayukh could be doing it in a more constructive, more responsible way, because I think among Sunni ulama, we know that no one would say Russia or Putin is the savior of the world, that he's the greatest leader on the planet, and it's something that many Muslims want to know a lot about, like what the possibility is of who for example, Yajuj and Majuj are, right? And how is it that they're going to be in such a great number that they're going to overwhelm the world, right? There's like so many different questions related to that, and you kind of like leave the void open, that forum open for someone like Iman Hussein to come up with like these theories. And maybe he'll be on the mark with some of them, and some of them he'll be like, "What the heck are you talking about?" Because like, for example, he doesn't believe like Dajjal is like a individual.
It's a system.
He feels like it's a system.
Yeah.
You know, and when we know from many of the hadith that he's actually an individual.
Awar, like he's one-eyed, and and not only that, and like he's gonna be barren, and
all the prophets.
But the thing is, but you know, to be honest, Tim, though, if I'm gonna be honest here, I think it's difficult because these hadith, many of them are not authentic.
That's fine.
And
still have a discussion
what I'm saying is that
about
it's meant to be ambiguous.
Yeah.
It's meant to be, and if you look at certain works that have been done about this, there are many understandings of explanations of how or what might be why they outnumber us and things. It's there, it's available, but it's not like in video format where people are gonna hear it, right? But I think it's by almost like it's just one of those things that have to be left ambiguous because you don't want to start. Because keep in mind, Muslim empires in the past have broken themselves based on some of the understanding around these hadith of Akhir Zaman.
Yeah, they've tried to rationalize their existence, like the Abbasids, for example. They used the hadith about the black flags, and they tried to legitimize themselves as the army of the black flags from Khorasan. So there's all these weird things that happen as a result of prophecies. It's kind of cool because when we were watching the Dune movie, that's the same thing that they were kind of like discussing related to prophecies. Like the main character is saying like, you guys are talking about this guy, Lisan al-Ghaib, and all these prophecies. You can make it a self-fulfilling prophecy by just doing the things that are required. And you know, there's like this undercurrent in where he's questioning, he doesn't really believe in it, and his mom kind of believes in it, I think, and then but he's not really believing in it, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, okay, well, how much of a prophecy becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and how much of it is as Muslims we know what prophecies are, but and even within the whole world of prophecies, there's entire hadith that are related to how strong, there's a science related to how strong these hadith are, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can correct me if I'm
wrong.
No,
you're 100% right.
No,
you're 100% right. One thing that I think people try too hard is, look, in order to get to a conclusion, let's say you talk about, you're going to try to figure out, and you think you know who the Yajuj and Majuj is, for instance. There's a whole lot of markers that have to be hit in order to lead that, in order to get to that conclusion, right? And the reason I'm saying this is, number one, it's almost impossible to know who they are, right?
Yeah.
If they're living now or whatever, or if you know, you think you know where they are.
So
there's so many mess ups you can have along that research and that process of knowing, where in reality it's not one of those things like Mort was saying. You don't have to know. That's not the main important. It's about the preparation you're supposed to be taking for Dajjal, for the arrival of Dajjal, for instance. Every prophet warned about Dajjal.
You know what I sometimes think about this, though? Before I mention that, I just want to say this. So I'm looking up the whole thing I mentioned to you earlier about the type of retaliation. The Jerusalem Post is talking about it, but what we can see is the build up to it, because it says Iran announces closure of its airspace. Usually that happens before an attack takes off. Okay. U.S. airlines have stopped flying to Israel. Mm-hmm. So this is usually, and the U.S. advises its citizens to reconsider going to northern Israel.
Yeah, and leave
so
Lebanon.
This is indications that there's probably, and then on the front page of the Jerusalem Post, it's saying that Iran's Khamenei orders attack on Israel as revenge for Haniyeh elimination. So it'll probably be coming. We don't know when, but I hope it's just not one of the ones that they did last time where it took like 8 hours to get there, and we're just watching. I had my lunch.
Guys, there's so much that happens in this past 10 months. How much of this is optics? How much of this is real posturing? How much of it?
So a lot of it is optics, right? But hold on. Before we get there, I just want to say this. So coming back to let's wrap up the other topic, right? Real quickly. So I think when talking about the issue of Akhir Zaman, the reason why I I understand why people are curious, Sim. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Some people are
It's
inquisitive
super-
minds.
Super.
But I think people need to understand that we draw parallels from Bani Israel. And if you look at their religion, it's full of rules that we would see as silly. Silly rules, right? They have to do. Why is this related to religion? But this was brought upon by themselves because they kept questioning Allah over and over and over again. And we contrast that with the Sahaba when they hear things about Akhir Zaman or the end of times, and they know about the days being long, and they don't ask how, Ya Rasulullah, how is the day going to be so long? They asked him more so of practical things like, how do we know what time it's going to pray? How will we be able to pray? Right? And I think, I'm not saying don't have these conversations, but don't take it to the point where it makes you like the Yahud who began to get into the why of it, and then you trouble yourself, right? Like when you can't, the practicalness of it gets lost.
The obsession to know something that is a reserved knowledge for Allah, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's fun to, and I love it too, because you know, growing up, we all had this obsession with wanting to know what's going to happen in the future. Because let's face the facts, we're kind of pathetic right now, and you want to know if there's light at the end of the tunnel. You want to know if are we going to be like this for a long time, or you know, what are some signs we can see to get out of this mess, or is there some prophecy that alludes to some hope coming that I can look forward to? And I think that's what the ultimate purpose of these prophecies are, is that they're just kind of like little lamps that you're supposed to pay attention to and not question it to the point where you're coming up with like elaborate theories and stuff. And people can, it's within the realm of discussion. I'm not saying don't do it, but I think the intent behind prophecies are that they're just lampposts. Like, hey, okay, you're in this dark time, but guess what? It's gonna look better. The khulafa, the hadith about that you're gonna have a kingship, and then there's gonna be a biting, oppressive kingship, and then there's gonna be a return to the
Khilafah
khilafah of the prophet.
Manhaj al-Nubuwah.
So these are you know that we're at the last stage. We're at the biting, oppressive kingship part. You know that tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe a year from now, there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's not going to end like this. This is not going to be the end of us like this. So that's how how I suggest my kids, whenever they come up with these questions, I tell them like, hey, look, these are general posts. There's going to be people who have all kinds of different theories and explanations around it. It's all guesswork. Everything is within the knowledge of Allah. I don't know what this beast is going to look like that's going to be coming out. I don't know if it's going to be a sandworm like you see in Dune, or you're going to see... you don't know. No one knows.
Could be the Cookie Monster.
The world is a very huge place. The oceans have barely been explored. The deserts have barely been explored. You don't know what's there. It could be a literal beast. A little beast.
I mean, have you seen a Komodo dragon? It looks so freaking terrifying.
It's insane.
It could be something like that. You know what I mean? But anyway, you know, also, Sim, what do you think about this? I think part of it is also the people hoping, like, for this silver bullet. That this means the Mahdi is coming. Like, all our problems are done.
See, if you
like, we're meaning that like we don't have to make any effort. The silver bullet's coming. We just gotta sit back and wait, and all the signs are here. And that means it's coming.
I don't think it's about effort more. I think it's a lot deeper than that. When Sim just said that, you know, you're hoping something's going to come up when you're so weak because you're in a despicable situation. When Rasulullah mentions that we're going to be kaghusa is-sail, we're going to be like a foam. The foam that gets thrown around from this powerful body of water is not just physical weakness. It's weakness all throughout everything, meaning in the sense that anything cool that pops up, you run towards it because you think it's going to save you, because you know what despicable situation that you're in. And then it goes by, and you're like, oh man, I thought that was it. And the next one comes, and the next one comes, until you get battered and battered over and over again.
It's emotional, it's financial,
But if you have the right eye opened and you have the right heart towards Allah, what that does is it starts building your tawakkul. You have to go through, everyone has to go through it. But eventually you get so many battle wounds through that it ends up toughening and callousing your heart. And that callous is important because what it does is it puts more trust in Allah. And you think, hey, no one's going to do anything. It's only up to Allah, bro.
Inna Allah ma'ana.
It's only Allah. Allah's going to do it.
Yeah, and everything is preparing.
Doesn't mean we don't do anything.
Everything is preparing us towards something bigger. It's coming. The whole thing with this relationship. Someone in the chat brought up, Maureen Cleland, brings up this question about how do you make sense of Iran and Hamas working together?
Yep.
They're two Sunni and Shia. I don't know, but I do know that there's some sort of alliance that's happening where Sunnis and Shias are working together. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making us a bridge for us to work together for something that's going to happen in the future for the betterment of the entire ummah and the world at large. I don't know.
You did a lot of research on Sunni Shia. I think. What do you think that is? What do you think?
So look.
Why does Hamas have such a strong support in Iran?
Well, let's just.
Or is it all
I don't think it
surface?
requires research. I think it's just necessity.
Yeah.
If your Arab brethren are not going to do something, I bring it back to Islam is a religion that's practical, right? And you look at something like there's a very interesting hadith. The Prophet used to make dua against poverty, from becoming impoverished, because he equated being in poverty with kufr. Not that being poor is kufr, but it leads you to that position where, meaning that you start doing anything to survive. And in this particular, I'm not saying the Palestinians are making kufr by siding with Iran, but I'm saying that the degree of desperation, everything is on the table. If I have to live, if a Jew is going to give me a gun, if a Christian, if the devil is going to give me a gun, I'm going to take that.
So I think what people are asking in essence, I agree with you, but Iran going out and reaching out to, is it as simple as they want to protect Masjid al-Aqsa? Is it as simple as they want to show up everybody else that, hey, we're protecting, none of you guys are?
I think we've covered this before, but I mean, just to be, are you all aware?
It's coming up a lot.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, like, Iran is a political entity. Just like Saudi Arabia is a political entity, the Emirates are a political entity, Israel is a political one, America, etc., Qatar. We don't have Muslim representation. We have representative of nations whose interests may at sometimes be aligned with the interests of Muslims and many times not. But make no mistake, it's self-serving. And in this particular case, this is not because I'm a friend of the Shias, or this is not what it is. This is strictly political. Saudi Arabia uses Sunni Islam for their own benefit, and Iran uses Shia Islam for its benefit. The higher up you go in the food chain, the less practicing these people are.
Yeah.
They use Islam in general, whether it's Sunni or Shia. Whether it's Turkey, the Turks and the Persians historically have been known to use their nationalistic fervor. They're historically great empires, from the Seljuks to the Ottomans, etc. The Turks have felt like we should be the ones who lead the Muslims. The Persians, they feel like we've existed for thousands and thousands of years before you can't even think as far back as how far our civilization existed. Right. We should be the ones who lead. So they have this like a sentiment of pride among them that, you know, we're going to be the ones who carry it, and we're going to use Islam when it's not that Islam is absent in their thinking. I don't want to completely say it's completely political. It's there, and they sometimes dip into it when they need to. Kind of like how us as individuals, as Muslims now, Islam isn't absent in our thinking. It's just there when we need it. When we're in a trouble, we're in a conflict with each other. What do you see like the most non-practicing Muslims say? They start pulling out hadith like, would the Prophet do this? I'm like, oh, I just saw you drinking there at the other day. Like, you know, all of a sudden, like, people, it's always like floating around somewhere in their thinking. It's not like, and it's varying, right? Sometimes
so
it'll
make
be
no
big, sometimes it'll be
just
small.
one thing as a clarifying thing too. This is not like when we talk about the regular people. I'm sure there are people who wholeheartedly believe and practice what they believe in among them. But
when you say them, you're talking about the Shias, basically?
Shias and Sunnis both. I believe there are people in Saudi Arabia who believe that these people are Wali Ahad, Wali Amr, the people who are, you know, you have to obey them, and they have their evidences. They believe this. They think they're doing right. Same thing with the Shias. Exactly. They believe that this is a continuation of Ahlul Bayt, and they believe these things.
Culture and religion has always been an awesome tool to control people too, though.
Yes, and so
one of the best.
The Middle Eastern governments are no It's nothing new for them to use religious cries to motivate people into action.
As with Iran,
Right?
yeah.
Because it's not like the Western world where religion is lost. Religion is still a very important part, a fabric of society. Everything from how they greet each other, to get married, to interact, or everything. They may not be as practicing, but it's ingrained in their society.
Yeah, it's unavoidable.
So to separate that from them is impossible. So rather than separating them from that and making them secular and making them see an argument from we're nationalists or we're this or serve yourself first, take the low-hanging fruit, which is, oh, this is a religious cause.
Yeah.
You see, you're not being a good religious person if you don't support this.
Yeah.
Right? And this is where the Prophet cautioned us about the scholar that sits too close to the ruler, because they're dangerous.
Yep.
The one who's too cushy with the ruler. Why? Because they're the ones who get the influence. Because the ruler can't come as a religious scholar and say, hey, do this is haram and halal. No, he needs someone to validate that opinion. And these are scholars or bodies of scholars that can disseminate this.
And when he knows that the scholar is getting too much popularity, he crushes them because he doesn't like that competition.
Right. So I hope that answers the question. It's not, I mean, I don't want to get into the issue. I don't want to make it polemical, because I don't believe, although I can do that, but I don't believe this is the time to do that. Right. This is not about that.
That's
right
very
now.
smart of you. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah,
Very
I
wise.
always tell the Shabab, like there's people on my feed who are, oh, Andrew Tate did this, he's takfiring him, we gotta takfir him now. This, I'm like, dude, there's people who are open enemies to you. They right now have their guns pointed
Yeah.
at you, and you're worried about what
Yeah.
Tate is doing or Sneak or whoever. Like, get a grip. Like
Yeah.
they've got their guns at you, and you're like, well, look at that one other Muslim. He thinks he's so popular. He thinks he knows better. Like, who cares?
That's how consuming.
You know?
That's how consuming social media is. Though. For some people, it's the world to them, and they think that that's what their cause is.
No,
when
but
there's crazy things happening.
You know what's crazy? Like, I wonder, like, what they would do in the time of the Sahaba. Like, I know, of course, we hold them in high regard and high esteem, but they were not perfect men. They made mistakes among themselves, and they corrected each other. Like the whole incident with Khalid bin Walid, you know, like killing, and like these are things that. Would they go and make takfir of them and say, oh, you Khalid, you can never be a leader now, you can never lead the army, you screwed up, right? Or Umar, how dare you do that? You know, you're not fit for ruling, right? And these are the same people that, number one, like, I just want to say this. I thank Allah for not being in a position of extreme wealth and extreme power. Because that is a fitna like no other.
Nobody wants it. If you're sincere, people don't want that.
And I can say this live on YouTube. If I had anywhere near the wealth and power of any of these rulers, I would be the devil on earth. It would tempt me to that level. Imagine being able to get away with impunity, doing so many things. Yeah, I mean, you recognize that Allah is there, but your nafs, your waswasa, it convinces you that, hey, this is for the good of my
Makes you
people.
rational.
This
Of
is for the good of
course,
myself.
it's for the good
This
of
is
my
what I have to
people.
do, right? You can trick yourself into believing you're doing right.
We do it all the time. brother.
Everyone, even Iblis, thinks he's the hero of his story. He thinks he's the hero. You think Iblis thinks he did wrong?
I'm trying to help them be better Muslims.
I was trying to point out the problem. I was trying to point out the problem with that Adam has, that he's not a good worshiper. That in his mind, that's what he's saying.
And he probably thinks
He's
at the end of the day,
rationalizing.
Allah's so merciful, I can probably plead with him on the day of judgment, right? I mean, he's probably rationalizing this thing in his head, right? Like, do
Who
you think
knows?
This is a great
Shaitan
concept.
really believes he's condemned to entirely to hell? No, I think that he believes that he could possibly have a chance for salvation.
I think he knows. No, I think he's much more smarter in that sense. I don't think that he's someone who's like.
I think the
deluded.
arrogance is deluding him, though.
I think
know,
the
I think-
arrogance, but what I'm saying is that he knows that the punishment for him.
Yeah.
But I think he's so arrogant that he believes that, I know Allah is merciful. And he think, I can convince him at the end of the day that this was not the right thing to do. You know?
Allahu Alam, only Allah knows whether.
Yeah.
But
What that dude thinking? What that dude thinking?
what
What that dude thinking?
Like, imagine the hubris, the craziness. This is something that I talk to the kids about too. Like when they're watching all this stuff from that, my kids are always sharing these clips from Zionists, Israelis, and stuff. And I'm like, yo, there's elements in this. This is an exaggerated version of craziness, but we oftentimes do this in our personal lives. We have
Scary, bro.
a twisted interpretation of reality where we think that we did nothing wrong, that we didn't do as well as we could have in school because our parents said such and such thing, and we attribute all our failures to because something that my parents or someone said, or someone didn't have enough faith in me or didn't believe in me, and you start making up these really elaborate stories where you were the victim, and now you don't have to take care of your parents now that they're old. They never believed in you.
No.
You know, I did this all myself. You know, and you start coming up with these crazy rationalizations that otherwise anyone from the outside would be like, "Hey, yo, that's your mom.
It's a different
That's
time.
your mom. Like, how could you?
Yeah,
how could you not take care?
time.
Like you see how disconnected in American society. I don't know how it is in the UK. Many of our listeners are from there, but in the US, you're seeing so many homes that have disconnected families. There's just people who have parted ways. They don't talk to each other anymore, and one of those reasons is because people have made themselves into victims, and they're like, "Oh, well."
But what else plays is things? I'm sorry to cut your role.
Go ahead.
Individualism plays a huge role in this too, bro.
Individualism, yes.
Individualism has a
You know what's really interesting about this? Since he brought it up, I was reading this thing that the baby boomers are starting to get older now, right? Like to the point of retirement and just death, right?
Great point.
And they said that, and the baby boomers were a generation that had a lot of small businesses. The problem, though, is that since there's such a disconnect between the children and the parents, they can't retire from the businesses, and they have no one to pass it on to. So all these small businesses are going up for sale because baby boomers are phasing out. And this is just a symptom of what he's mentioning, that since there's such a disconnect between the parents and the children, it's even affecting how they inherit wealth and how they inherit businesses and their personal life, right?
Slave woman give birth to her master.
Yeah, so many people are going out there and buying businesses. Like I heard about this guy, and he says, "Listen, I took over a laundromat. I make about $800 a day from this laundromat." Yeah, and the way I found out about it was this old lady told me I was getting tired of carrying $800 worth of quarters every day. It's too heavy for me, and I need to retire. My kids don't want to do this. I want to sell the business. And so she sold for pennies on the dollar. She made her money for years. And basically, it's a story of how someone picked up this fantastic business.
That's a great idea.
Because the baby boomer didn't have someone to depend on.
That's insane.
Imagine how many people who are in our community would be head over heel if their parents left them a business that they could just take $800 a day from. I mean, that's good money.
Okay, that's a good one.
Right? That's almost like $7,000 a week. Right? Imagine that. Do the math. Right? It's like $28,000 in a month, which is more than quadruple the average median income. Right? But handed over that business for pennies on the dollar. Why? Only because there's a disconnect between the parents and the children. And this is just an example of how Allah takes away rizq if you abandon your parents.
Allahu Akbar. Slave mother give birth to her master.
Yeah.
One of the signs.
Before we wrap up, we got to run from over, but Belal Muhammad, what do you think, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah.
Yo, I didn't watch it live, so I
Does it matter?
Yeah, I know. And I didn't know what happened either. I turned off. Airplane moded my phone. I don't know if you guys realized. Airplane moded it.
Where were you?
Straight to my laptop.
How could you not watch it live?
Yeah. No, I can't remember. Some
you had family.
But I watched it, and I'm waiting for this knockout to happen, and I see Belal Muhammad pile driving and double leg takedown. The way this dude was wrestling, but I'm like, all right, but he's gonna get head kick. Bro, he stood with dude. I thought this before. For the past month, I've been saying, yo, it's gonna be finished in two rounds. Leon Edwards is gonna knock this dude out cold. He's a different level. But yo, this dude came out guns blazing. Those high crotch double leg takedowns he was doing, dude, he was just leaving it open for him.
So let me preface this. I was dead wrong, and I have to admit this too.
Wrong.
I was a doubter.
Yeah.
And Sim can testify I was a doubter, right?
Sure.
Not
And who was not a doubter? Let's just talk about
huh?
that.
Oh, you weren't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, you thought he was gonna win?
Oh yeah.
Really?
no,
Yeah.
did you?
I said like, hey, yo, I don't know what you're talking about. More this Bilal's been proving everyone's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
he
he
did
did
Gilbert
prove it-
Burns too.
No, he
I
said
remember that.
He
He
said
did
he was
that.
proving it wrong, but I don't know if he said he's going to win. But nonetheless, I was the doubter, right? I was the doubter saying, no, Leon
Sam,
Edwards,
did you say it's straightforward?
I never ever questioned Bilal Muhammad.
you did not say he was going to win.
No, but you know what the crazy thing is? I had a crazy moment, a self-reflective moment after he won. I went back and watched his interviews where he's like, "Y'all don't know, I'm gonna win." I was like, "Dude, this dude knew he was gonna win."
So let me just say this, okay? So, and I'm saying this because I don't want to be a bandwagoner. Like, I follow UFC, and I think when I say this, he took everybody by surprise,
Oh yeah,
right? And I think it's fair to doubt him, not because you're hating, but just because when you look overall, like, you don't like. So, sometimes he doesn't have those moments. Like, even his win right now wasn't like this. You wouldn't consider a win like how, okay, like, you know, dominating fashion. Meaning that he did fired in all 5 cylinders. But when you see Khabib finish a fight,
yeah.
right? Or for example, when he ends the fight and he's getting elbowed in the face, right? It's not the fantastic one that you want to see as dominant, right? But that being said, he deserves it.
Yes.
And I was a doubter, and he made me into a believer.
Yeah.
Like this is a story of heart. Because if you look at it from a technical perspective, yes, this fight was technically awesome. He hit all the marks. But prior to this, he wasn't like, that's not his. He's not known to be that technically like sharp all the time,
He
right?
improves a
He's
lot.
more of a brawler,
Yeah.
right? But this one, like, I mean, the wrestling, the striking, just
I was surprised
the
by the
level
striking.
changes,
Yeah.
right? The ability to keep him on the cage, cutting him off, on the jab, right? Like, just moving away, putting him back in the corner. Just everything
Blocking
he did.
leg kicks perfectly.
Right, exactly. Everything he did was like, this man went in determined, and he went in like, and I honestly feel Allah just made it perfect for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, because I've never seen a fight like Belal fight that way.
that
in
was
his
very
life.
one-sided. Yeah.
Yeah, I never seen.
No, he did a great job against Gilbert.
Yeah.
Gilbert Burns.
Gilbert Burns is a real dude.
He's a legitimate
Yeah.
like the championship contender.
Yeah.
Like,
He did.
And he dominated him.
He did, but I'm saying this is the fight he fought against Leon Edwards.
Yeah.
Is 10 times better than how he performed against Gilbert Burns.
Yeah.
Right? And what I'm saying, I'm not saying he did bad against Gilbert Burns, but I'm saying this Belal that we saw,
Definitive.
like, it was just like, man, it was
He's
just
a different person.
It was different. He trained different, and what I'm saying is that this is a 3-week notice,
Yeah.
right?
And he was taking center of the octagon. He wasn't afraid to get hit. He was always pushing the pace. He was the main one pushing the pace. I don't think Leon Edwards pushed the pace even for one round compared to him.
I just think that he outplayed him.
Yeah.
Leon couldn't find his rhythm at all.
The only thing Leon had was at the end of the exchange on the ground, he would always end up being on the top. He would reverse it at the end of the round, but he wasn't there for too long. He didn't cause too much damage there. But that's one thing Muhammad's team is going to have to focus on, is finding those loops and capitalizing on the.
I think Bilal's going to go back and work on jiu-jitsu a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right?
And how to submit better.
Because there was a lot of submission possibilities there. He had a lot of ground control, a lot of ground time. And I think that's what enabled Leon at the end to get those elbows in, because he didn't know how. I mean, he just wasn't effective at containing him on the ground, right? He couldn't get it. But that said, using his wrestling, he was still dominant, right?
Awesome.
And I just think that, hey, hats off. Alhamdulillah, I'm happy. I told him beforehand, I don't think he's gonna win, but I hope he does. I want him to win, right? And I think, and what I love the most about this is that he says something so profound.
Oops, sorry.
Oops, yeah. And I'll get it. Is that this is not just for me. He's like, in the books of history, Palestine will have a champ. Like, you can't wipe that off now. Like, the country of Palestine has a champion.
Yes,
so
sir.
Palestine will forever be etched in the history of the UFC.
Guess who doesn't have one?
Israel.
Does Adesanya count? But check this out, and then
gotta have
and then
Belal
the
against
naysayers,
Israel.
after he showed such a dominant performance. Oh, was Leon Edwards fatigued? And then you have Dana White, the
Right.
president,
Talking about it right here.
talking about it right here.
Good morning. Belal Muhammad's new welterweight champion. Curious your thoughts on the main event, on his performance and Leon Edwards' performance. wasn't a barn burner. Yeah. Do you think maybe Leon kind of, to me, looked a little bit lethargic? Maybe the time was hurting him a bit more than Belal. Do you think that was a factor? Or do you think Bilal's pressure was just too much for him to overcome?
I have no clue. You're going to have to ask Leon how he felt and what was going on, and
How he felt what was going on.
Belal. I know Bilal's been training with Habib, so his performance was, what you would expect.
In the past we've seen these
What a
dominant
dumb
champions get an instant rematch. Do you think that might be the case here, or do you think it's better to just have Leon rest?
So
Congratulations to all of
you're seeing Dana White upset. Why? Why is he upset about Belal and the other fighters on that card upset? Because they've incorporated Khabib style, the Dagestani wrestling style, into MMA, into divisions where it's mostly stand up and you're standing up and throwing punches, and it's supposed to be very exciting fights, and you're seeing this division succumb to that fighting style. So you're seeing him upset about it because this style of fighting is considered boring. It doesn't bring on new enthusiasts to MMA, new fans and stuff. So you're seeing someone who's really, he's not upset that he's a Muslim or a Palestinian one. He's upset because that division is supposed to be an exciting division, and he's getting really upset that this division is now converting. What it seems like, at least an admission, is that Dagestani wrestling is the most superior type of wrestling on the planet.
Not this guy.
It's on the. How else can you interpret it?
Yeah.
If they're now coaching these these fighters to stop taking fights to the ground. What does that tell you about the UFC? UFC is admitting that wrestling is the most superior form of fighting. And
Going back to the Sunnah.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, no. So I think also the reality is that, and it's just so stupid when I think about it, because Habib and Islam, phenomenal fights they put on. Everyone's loving it, and this is a similar style of fighting, right? You don't say that thing. I mean, there have been many fights where Habibs that were extremely technical and boring to watch. If you're just looking for blood.
Yeah.
If you're a fight fan, they're excellent fights to watch, right? From a tactical perspective. But fans had no shortage of a problem with that.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's inevitable, bro.
And here's how I look at it too. You want to have a guy that's a brawler? Let him brawl. Like Conor was a brawler. He wasn't a wrestler.
Yeah.
Khabib still took him out.
Here's the funniest thing. You as a president have to match the excitement of the fans. The fans are coming back happy that the Palestinian Belal won, and everyone is excited. There's a lot of fervor behind it, and you're coming down as a Debbie Downer. And it's throwing water to an exciting fight. You match the excitement. It doesn't matter whether, it'd be one thing the fans are upset and you want to share in their frustrations. That'd be one thing. Everyone's excited except
it was 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah,
and they were that packed in the stadium and going crazy. Dude, they enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that's why this is a catch-22 also. Look,
I'm saying that event started at 1 a.m.
I know, no, dude, it's crazy. But the thing is that you want a slugfest, you want super exciting, but guess what? You want people to evolve too and become awesome fighters. This is a part of the evolution of fighting. No one's going to be... If you want great fighters, it's not going to be a slugfest forever.
Yeah, but you had the Tom Aspinall fight with great knockout. You had so many great... I mean, there were great sluggers. I mean, not every division's going to be the same at some point. Things change, right? It's just one...
The heavyweights are definitely good for that.
Yeah, I'm
but
just
it's
saying...
inevitable, bro. They're going to evolve. They're going to become amazing fighters.
No, I'm saying
there
will be another champion that comes in the same division that's maybe more of a striker, right? That's part of the fighting style, right? Yeah. It's just different,
Pereira's there.
Yeah.
Shafkat. Will he take it away from Belal? I think that's the next matchup. I think that Shafkat is going to get the matchup against Belal, and I'm worried for Belal because Shafkat is a sick.
I am done doubting Belal. I will not make the Belal will win.
Inshallah,
Belal will win.
Inshallah.
I am done doubting.
For those who don't know, we're based out of Chicago, and Bilal's from Chicago, so we take double enjoyment.
So this shows you that I'm not biased just because he's from Chicago, he's gonna win. No, I really did think that he wasn't gonna win, and not because I didn't want him to, but I think I'm done doubting. I doubted.
Did you see the Belal apology form?
I saw that on Twitter.
I think you need to complete
What the heck
one.
is that?
No,
You
because
both of you.
No, because that's for a hater. I didn't hate Belal. I'm just saying.
So is this a form to apologize to
Yeah,
Belal?
you fill out
That's
a
so
form
cool.
and you put out.
I'm gonna fill it out, bro.
Yeah.
I like that. Who started that form?
I don't know. Someone started.
No, but that's for legit haters of Belal.
Yeah, I'll do it out of respect.
Yeah,
for him,
I'm
though.
not a hater. Like, I just was really worried because, look, that division is tough.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a lot of talent in the division. Like, and I'll be honest, like, if someone like a, I mean, hey, man, when you talk about people who are going to multiple divisions, right, and trying to tackle them up, going with a couple of different weight classes sometimes, what if someone like a Volkanovski comes up into that division, right? So it's not that I don't like Belal, but I'm saying that there's some serious skill level in the UFC.
Islam wanted to go to welterweight too, remember?
Yeah, I'm saying, so there's real competition, right, in that division, and look, I even doubted Leon holding the belt. I knew that for sure. After he won it first time, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't know if he can hold on to it. But then he had like a champ confidence, and he got the job done. I'm like, wow, that champ confidence was good on him. But I still didn't think that he was going to hold it for long, right? I knew that he wasn't a belt holder. And my concern is I don't know how long Belal will hold the belt. I hope it's long, but I'm done doubting. I'm going to believe that Belal's going to do it until he doesn't.
All right, brothers, that's our show for this evening. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you had a good time. Make sure you like, subscribe, throw a comment in the comment section below. All you people, wonderful, beautiful human beings in the chat.
Yes.
Please, just throw a small comment in the chat.
Yeah,
Shafkat or
Smash.
who will win, Belal or Shafkat in a matchup.
It's a great,
Throw that in the comment.
Great. What do you think about it?
Love you all. We'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.